Teams will do anything to get an edge in the multi-billion-dollar industry that is professional sports. Recently, there's been an explosion of the big data field of sports analytics. While analytics is a mainstay in baseball and basketball, the NFL generally lags behind. Part of this might be a product of culture, but football is also much harder to analyze. There are many fewer games, complex gameplay, and player performance is highly codependent. But all of this makes for an even bigger opportunity. For my project, I wanted to bring a new approach to player evaluation. Can we come up with a data-driven, quantitative way to complement traditional methods to answer questions such as, who is better, Nick Foles or Sam Bradford, two quarterbacks who were recently traded for each other? If time, money, and brain damage wasn't an issue, how would you decide who's better? You take a generic team, plug in Sam Bradford, play a million games, do the same for Nick Foles, and then see who had the most wins. Obviously, we can't do this, but we can with Monte Carlo simulations. To do so, we need to construct probability distributions of outcomes for each possible game situation. Different players would lead to different distributions, and through simulation, we could see who's better. In normal gameplay, there are three main variables that determine the situation: the down, distance, and field position. We must estimate distributions for each possible combination. The main distinction in a football play is whether a run or pass is called. The distribution of yards gained can then be seen as a two-component mixture model with the probability of a run or pass being called, and then a distribution of yards gained given this call. To first estimate the pass proportion, I scraped Pro Football Reference to get an empirical estimate from 2010 to 2014. Given the large number of possible combinations and sparse data, these estimates are very noisy. For a better estimate, I took a Bayesian approach. Pass probability is a Bernoulli variable. If we're interested in its value at one situation, we can use observations at other situations as a prior. Using the conjugate prior of a beta distribution, we just need to estimate the hyperparameters, which can be thought of as pseudo-counts. We need to decide how much an observation at one down, distance, and field position counts as an observation at another. Without getting into too much detail, I created a pseudo-count metric that reflected the similarity between any given pair of situations with the functional form shown here. Taking the map estimate of the posterior pass probability, I get the following graphs. Next, I did the same thing with the distribution of yards gained, which can be thought of as a multinomial distribution. Using a Dirichlet conjugate prior, we just need again to estimate the pseudo-counts. Sparing some of the details, I created a similarity function based on the difference in pass probability and field position between any given pair of situations. Since I was interested in evaluating quarterback play, I used a league aggregate estimate for the yards gained by run, but had separate estimates for the yards gained by pass for each quarterback. Here are the map estimates for one particular situation, first down and 10 on the 20-yard line. The red plot is for the league overall, and the blue lines are the Bayesian estimates for either player. Using the league also as a prior for the players results in the green lines. It's striking how similar the distributions are, but in the all or none game of football, even small differences can have a large effect over time. For simulations, many other parameters must be defined. I list a few of them here. For instance, one must decide if a team will go for a field goal or punt on fourth down. For these estimates, I use the work of Brian Burke from Advanced Football Analytics. Again, I want to compare quarterbacks, so in my simulations I keep everything fixed except for the variables that quarterbacks have the most control over, the yards gained by pass. For each quarterback, I ran 1 million simulations of drives starting at the 20 and asked which quarterback led to the most points. Here are the results for the simulations. Nick Foles was around the league average of points per drive, whereas Sam Bradford was 0.3 points below average. The chart on the right shows the probability of drive outcomes. The decrease in points for Sam Bradford largely resulted from more punts and less touchdowns. With 15 drives per game, a difference of 0.3 points per drive would result in 4 to 5 fewer points scored per game. This exercise was meant more as a proof of concept than a legitimate comparison. To be more realistic, we'd want to weight more recent performances versus early career play. Also, different teams have different systems, so player comparisons could be team-specific. But all of these things can be accounted for. We can also use this framework to address many other questions, such as when should you go for it on fourth down, and would you rather have a home run back or a consistent power runner? We are just scratching the surface of what could be done with such Bayesian Monte Carlo methods.